The film begins with a girl named Sophia playing ice hockey with her team. At that time, they work together, and she scores a goal that helps her team win the match. After the game, Sophia's parents, Santo and Ingrid Gruber, wait for her in the parking lot. They look very proud of what Sophia did, so Santo decides to reward her with an off-roading trip. In that moment, Sophia is thrilled when she hears this, and after dropping Ingrid off at home, she and Santo head out to the forest in a jeep. They have a great time admiring the forest's beautiful scenery, and they even take a break by a lake before heading home. While they're there, Sophia asks her dad if they can take a picture together as a keepsake, but her dad, who doesn't like getting his picture taken, says no. So, just before they leave, Sophia secretly snaps a photo of her dad and posts it on her social media. Little did they know, a person from Santo's past, Don Angelo Lobianco, used a face tracking system to find him and his family by tracing the photo Sophia posted online. A few days later, Santo went back to work with his brother-in-law, Patrick Gruber, as tree lumberjacks. Unfortunately, they had to stop working because their wood saw broke. At that time, Patrick suggested they fix it the next day, but Santo insisted on getting it repaired in town right away. So he asked Patrick to pick up Sophia, who was practicing ice hockey. Hearing that, Patrick agreed and quickly went to get his niece from her ice hockey practice. When they got home, Sophia rushed upstairs to her room, while Patrick stayed downstairs talking to Ingrid. Suddenly, two men entered the house and killed both Patrick and Ingrid. Upstairs, Sophia became the target of these mysterious men, so she tried to escape into the forest, which helped her get away from them. In the evening, Santo had just returned from the city, and he was shocked to find out that his wife and brother-in-law had died in a tragic way. Soon after, Sophia came home, screaming in distress, and she asked her dad to call for an ambulance and the police. At that moment, Santo realized that his old enemy was behind this attack, so he grabbed his daughter and left the house right away. Once they reached an old, deserted building, Sophia kept urging her dad to call the police and report her mother and uncle's murder. But Santo refused because he was afraid the police might arrest him. You see, he used to be a hitman, but he never told his daughter about his dark past. Now, about this guy Don Angelo. He was Santo's sworn enemy because Santo had killed Don Angelo's son a while back. Don Angelo was a big shot in Italy, a respected mafia leader who also owned a bank. Around that time, he got word that his two men had killed the wrong person, so he ordered them to fix their mistake by eliminating Sophia. Meanwhile, Sophia was still upset with her father for refusing to involve the authorities in the murder case. There, Santo tried to calm her down and eventually had to confess his dark past as an assassin before he married Ingrid. Sophia was shocked to hear this and couldn't believe her dad had such a past. After revealing his history, Santo started preparing to seek revenge against the person who killed his wife and brother-in-law. He gave Sophia a cell phone for her safety, telling her to only use it to contact him. Sometime after her father left, Sophia, wanting to escape, used the cell phone to call her boyfriend, Hakim, asking him to pick her up. Unbeknownst to her, Don Angelo's men successfully traced the call. On the other hand, Santo met one of Don Angelo's men named Vituzzo and interrogated him about the killer. In exchange for medical treatment, Vituzzo informed two hitmen hired by Don Angelo. Unfortunately, after getting the information, Santo left Vituzzo seriously injured. On the other hand, Hakim rushed on his motorcycle after receiving Sophia's call, and when he reached an old building, Sophia met him there and they hurriedly left the place. On the way, they encountered a car with assassins sent by Don Angelo. Meanwhile, Santo, upon returning to his hideout, couldn't find his daughter and started searching for her, fearing she might be pursued by Don Angelo's men. Now let's get back to Sophia and Hakim. There they had to stay one step ahead of Don Angelo's hitmen, who had recognized them from their earlier encounter. As Hakim steered his motorcycle into the forest, one of the men in the car fired a shot, causing Sophia and Hakim to tumble off the bike. Tragically, that shot ended Hakim's life. Sophia fought back as best she could but was eventually captured and stuffed into the trunk of a car. Around the same time, Santo arrived on the scene and took care of the two hitmen, though he got hurt when one of them stabbed him in the stomach with a knife. Despite his injuries, Santo managed to move Sophia to a safer spot, especially now that she was wanted by the police as a suspect in her family's murder. Soon after, they reached a supermarket, and Sofia went downstairs to buy some medicine for her father, who had gone into a public restroom to tend to his stab wound. Meanwhile, at Don Angelo's place, his second son, Michele Lobianco, didn't want revenge because it might harm their banking business. He believed that keeping the business going was more crucial than seeking vengeance. Don Angelo, however, was furious because he had expected Michele to avenge his older brother, who Santo had killed 20 years ago. Feeling let down by his son, Don Angelo turned to his friend named Ferrario for help in tracking down Sofia and Santo using surveillance camera footage in Milan. On the other hand, Santo and Sofia had arrived in Milan, and they decided to spend the night in an empty house to avoid being easily found by people who were after them. Sadly, Santo's stomach wound got worse as it got infected. This made Sofia go out to find help. Eventually, she met a woman who worked at an illegal place for abortions. There, Sofia asked for help, but the woman kept saying no. Shortly after, Sofia offered a lot of money, and eventually, the woman agreed to help Santo. Later on, Santo was taken to an underground clinic where he received medical treatments that saved his life. When he woke up, he apologized to Sofia for the trouble caused by his past actions. The next day, Santo's condition was improving, but they were discovered by Rudy Crisara, a hitman hired by Don Angelo. At that time, Rudy rushed into the clinic to kill Santo, but Santo, despite not being completely healed, managed to outsmart and defeat Rudy. Meanwhile, outside, Sofia, who was on her way to pick up her father, was suddenly held at gunpoint by another assassin. When Santo heard gunshots from outside, he hurried upstairs and shot the man dead. After that incident, Santo realized that Don Angelo wouldn't stop chasing him. So he decided to take matters into his own hands and deal with his mortal enemy before Don Angelo could harm Sofia. Since that moment, Santo started training Sofia to defend herself in case someone tried to harm her. He even made a bomb as a weapon to use against Don Angelo. One night, Santo and Sofia talked about their dream of going to Africa once they were free from the hitman chasing them. The next day, following their plan, Sofia went to Don Angelo's bank area to gather information and sent pictures to her father. At that time, Santo planned to kidnap Michele to get Don Angelo to surrender. Then, after studying the photos sent by his daughter, Santo moved into the bank area through the parking lot. He knocked out the guard on duty to make it easier for him to reach the top floor where Michele's office was located. At the same time, Sofia triggered the bomb her father had made to get everyone out of the building, making it easier for Santo to move. Their plan went smoothly as Santo reached Michele's room and took him hostage. He then brought Don Angelo's son to the parking lot where Sofia was waiting. They had to deal with several guards who tried to rescue Michele, but Santo and Sofia managed to escape with him. Not long after, Santo and Sofia met up at their secret hiding place. There, Santo promised Sofia that he would put an end to her daughter's suffering. Meanwhile, Don Angelo received a picture message from Santo showing the condition of Michele, who was held captive. Santo told Don Angelo that he needed to confess to his crimes in front of the media within 24 hours if he wanted Michele to be safe. If Don Angelo didn't comply, Santo threatened to harm Ferrario, who also knew about Michele's kidnapping, tracked Santo's cell phone, which led them to an abandoned station. On the other hand, Rudy and Don Angelo's men rushed to the station to confront Santo. When they arrived, they found Santo's parked car, but couldn't locate Santo himself. At that time, they began inspecting the car, and suddenly, Santo fired a shot from a hidden spot, taking down Don Angelo's men with a sniper rifle. Rudy and the others panicked and sought cover behind Santo's car, not realizing that a bomb was planted there. When the bomb went off, Santo eliminated Rudy's men. Rudy, the sole survivor, desperately searched for Santo, who attacked him from behind. Rudy found himself cornered and was told that Don Angelo would not admit to his crimes, even if it meant sacrificing his own son. Upon hearing the news, Santo wasted no time and took out the hitman. Soon after, he bid farewell to Sofia because he had made up his mind to head over to Don Angelo's house to put an end to all his troubles. When Santo reached the mafia boss's luxurious residence, he easily incapacitated all the guards. He then sneaked into Don Angelo's room and used a rope to strangle him. Meanwhile, dozens of police officers had surrounded the house, ready to arrest Santo. Then he calmly walked out, but was met with a hail of bullets from the police. On the other hand, Sofia was also arrested by the police, who had located the empty house where she and her father were hiding. A few days later, Sophia, who was seen as a troublemaker, was placed in a penitentiary where she met Michelle. There, Michelle told Sophia that she wanted to help her as a way of making amends for Santo's death. However, it turned out that Michelle was lying. After the meeting, Michelle met with Ferrario in a car and asked his father's friend to use a rope to kill Sophia, just like how Santo had done to his father. In the final scenes, Sophia looked at a photo of her family and decided to escape from the penitentiary to seek revenge on Michelle. When Michelle received the news of Sophia's disappearance and entered her office, she was shocked to find Sophia already sitting there. Sophia initially acted sweetly towards Michelle, but suddenly stabbed her, and the film ends. The moral lesson from this film is always remember to double-check your social media posts before sharing, or your dad's enemy might come back to haunt you.